I have a lot of questions, but I decided to go for just the one who's the most exciting for me. And that's the moments that I'm easy into the vortex. And one of the things, two things are very easy for me. One is when I'm giving psychic readings. I just decide, I line up and I'm like, yeah, clairvoyant.
It's because you're receiving, not thinking.
Yeah, and that's very easy. And in daily life, I'm like very expert in resisting. The other thing I really love and what I want to talk about is...
Let's milk that just a little bit, because you all heard and believe how easy that is for her. And we just want to stay there for a moment to let you know that any time that you find alignment with who you are, there's an ease in the unfolding. But you say you're expert at not being that easy about other things.
Yeah, I have a lot of addictive behavior, a lot of...
So just think for a moment, what's the difference? When you are doing that reading, you know that it's not coming out of your mind. You know it's not coming out of your effort. You know that it's not something that you learned from your mother who learned it from her mother. You know that you're going to receive it right now, this red hot minute. Why don't you know that about everything, every day, every moment? Stay there for a moment. That's what we've been talking about in all of these hours, is that the efforting and the thinking that you've got to think it, the thinking that you've got to prove something with your thinking or compete with others who are thinking in some way. You are absolutely knowing that you are in the receiving mode, and that's why it's easy. So we're asking all of you, can't it be easy to be in the receiving mode about everything? Can't you accept that the things you want, you've launched the rockets and it's done? And can you see that the difference, the big difference in whether you're letting it in now or not, is whether you're thinking too much about it, whether you're trying to make it too much about what you're doing right now? What's at the root of that? You've been taught that you need to come here and that you need to prove to someone who isn't asking for the proof about your worthiness, about your deservability. So you're working so hard to prove it that you're not letting in the thing that you never had to prove to begin with. You never had to prove it, but somewhere along your physical trail you believed you had to prove it, and so you're trying so hard. You're wanting to do all the thinking, you're wanting to bring it about, you're wanting the credit for it, and you're wanting the responsibility of it, and you're wanting the marks on the chart for it, you're wanting the reward for it. So you've been taught that when you think hard and when you try hard and when you sacrifice hard, that then that's when you really win. And we say that's when you really put off or disallow the winning that is yours without earning. You weren't sent here to earn, you were sent here to create. You were sent by you. You weren't sent by someone else. You came here to create, you see. Oh, we really want you to hear that distinction. Did it? Do you know why it's easy for her to receive when she's giving a psychic reading? Because she knows it's not coming from her brain. She knows that it's not hers to do. She knows that it is hers to receive. And we want all of you to know that all of the things that you want are yours to receive, not yours to produce. That's why when you get into that meditative state, we want you to watch the movie, not direct it, not define the characters. Don't direct it. You already did that in step one. Step one caused you to gather all of the ingredients. They're already there. And the law of attraction has made magical music about all of them, you see. Now it's your job to do your own psychic readings. Now it's your job to get into that receiving mode, and you'll just get better and better and better and better and better at it. And it is easy. It's so easy to know what to do once you get the clues. When Kate was little, she played a game with Jerry and Esther. They all liked it so much. She had a little button that she was hiding around this very large building. And she would go hide it, and then she would give them clues. She would say, "You're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. Oh, now you're getting colder." And they knew. They believed her. They believed what she was saying. Warmer was getting them closer, and it was sort of like finding you in the audience by following the clues. They always found it, and it was always delightful. And not one time ever did Kate try to trick them. Never did she say colder when it was warmer, or warmer when it was colder. She was true to the guidance, and so is your inner being. The better it feels, the closer you're getting to it, and the worse it feels, the further you're getting from it. That's not a difficult concept unless you've been taught that feeling good isn't, that feeling bad is good, that suffering just sucks. It's not necessary. It takes a little while to reorient yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah, and especially it's like being two states of being. Like when I do the reading, it's very easy, and then I let go of it, just as a habit, let go of the alignment, and I'm wondering why.
It's because part of it is expectation. Here's the thing. When you tune into that source energy, it's such a powerful knowing. It is undeniable. It is undeniable. And when you're wobbling around, you know, that feeling of indecision, isn't that uncomfortable? But the more you tune in, and the more you know you're tuned in, and the more often you receive an impulse and you follow it, and it leads to some place that leads to some place that leads to some place, in time you will get so that you trust yourself. Esther has said on many occasions, because she loves so much the feeling of momentum at the convergence of something like this gathering. She can feel it happening. She barely slept last night. She could feel the energy of it. She loved the feeling of it. She thought I should go to sleep, and then she thought if I really needed to sleep, I'd be asleep. Why don't I just enjoy the feeling of all of this coming together? And then as it flows, there's nothing in her experience more exhilarating than being tuned, calibrated so precisely that everything that we intend, whether it's the motion of a finger or the subtlety of some words, she receives effortlessly. In other words, when she listens back, she is astonished at the flow of the conversation, not just the words, but the continuity of the meeting, the continuity of the convergence, the culmination of that which we all are as we're converging here. She likes it so much. And then she will say, I think I'm going to just get Abraham and just walk around like that all the time. Why don't I just be Abraham? Why don't I just be Abraham? That way everybody gets source, no matter what. Nobody's ever going to catch me in a bad mood or a confused mood. In other words, why don't I just be that? And we say, yeah, why don't you just be that? Why don't you tune into who you are? Why don't you be your better self, as our friend said yesterday? Why don't you be the whole of you? Well, there is a reason. You do want to explore. You came into this body to see things that your inner being does not see. You came to explore the subtle nuances of the variety, because expansion comes from that. So these two aspects of your being, this non-physical source that is you, and this leading edge creative being that is you, you came to explore the contrast, because out of it comes the new desire. And that new desire is essential to the expansion of the universe. The evolution of all species is dependent upon your ability to not be in complete connection with source energy all of the time, but instead to explore some things in order to ask for more, so that source can then focus upon the more that you have sifted and sorted from your environment. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And some of you say, well, I'm not so sure I really wanted to sign up for that. Wouldn't I rather be just non-physical energy who doesn't have to have the experience of suffering in the contrast? And we said, no one expected to come here and suffer in the contrast. When you go to a buffet where there is a lot of food to choose from, do you suffer in your choices? Oh, this is so discouraging. There are things here that I don't want to eat. They should be eliminated from the buffet. I don't want to see them. We say, just don't put them on your plate and in your mouth. Don't suffer that they exist. Just choose around them. Because in those choices, you are defining. So as you choose wanted and unwanted, as you focus and therefore choose wanted and unwanted, you refine and you define and you put out a vibrational message to the universe of what your choices are. And because you are blessed, because you are worthy, as you make those choices, source focuses upon your choices and holds them in a constant vibrational field just so that you can calibrate and tune yourself to them. Don't you love knowing that? Isn't it just the perfect environment for all of us? Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? Really? We don't think you understand the perfection of how this is all working, the details that you bring to the table, the things that you define and refine, the asking that you offer, which summons the focus. Creation is about life. Creation is about the continuing of life. You are an eternal being. You can't cease to be. You can't just say, I'm going to bail out of this game. I've decided not to run for this election. You can't do that. You can't opt out of it. You're in it, and you're in it because you want the joy of being in it, the eternal, continuing discovery of your capacity to allow love and clarity and mansions